Hello and welcome to the show. Every week we discuss different running and chiropractic topics, taking full advantage of Dr. Smith's 40 plus years of experience in each.
Marathon season starts in October and it tends to end somewhere around March or April. You know, the cool weather's starting to go away. Train in the heat, race in the cold. Because there's a thing that happens to your body when you train in the heat called heat adaptation. You adapt one way, and that is that you can radiate heat away from your body much more efficiently and then spend time out in the heat. Slowly get out there and start running in the hot weather. Now, when I'm heat adapted, I can run hills on the 100-degree weather and it doesn't bother me. Now, you're going to go slow. You need to go slow. You have to. You just can't push the pace because the faster you go, the more heat you generate. You have to think strategy. And if you're thinking about that race in October, if that's your A race on your training schedule, the cost is you're training in the heat. A lot of this training in the heat and cold requires a psychological adaptation and knowing what's going to happen on the runs and on race day. You know, making sure that you have adequate preparations both with hydration and nutrition. Your nutritional needs in the cold weather are different. You know, you tend to burn more calories in the cold. You tend to go through more water in the heat. You have to adapt to both situations.
With the Pacers, you utilize a year-round training cycle, right?
That's right. You know, we like to keep people fit. It is true that the professionals will train to a point. They'll pick their A race, they'll set their schedule and train up to that A race, and they want to be as sharp as they're going to get on race day. A training style that includes base training, strength training, and speed training, what we call periodized training. And when they're in race day, they're as fit as they're going to be. And they probably have a period of 6 weeks where they're sharp enough to continue to compete. Beyond that, they start getting burnout and overtrained, and they can't hold on to it. So then there's a rest period. People who are trying to be well conditioned do better off if they have a season when they run and kind of an off season. But you also don't want to get deconditioned. So, you know, 2 or 3 weeks of really reduced mileage, backing down on your pace, hit that next marathon with adequate training, and then comes September and it starts again. You know, here they come. And the whole cycle starts anew. It's like watching the plants grow or the trees bloom. It's pretty cool.
What are some of the benefits of running with a social running group?
When you face a challenge in a group of people, now that's an interesting thing because it's you and I facing this challenge together. There's a connection that happens with people when they run together, even without words. Sharing the same space with another human being for 2 or 3 hours out there while facing a challenge together, it's a connectedness. It's a communication like none other. You have an experience like that with a group, it will cement relationships that last for years. I can tell you this one experience that I had. This is about 3 years ago. I was at the LA Marathon, and this guy runs up to me and he goes, "Hey, Dr. Smith." And I looked at the guy and I thought, I've never seen this guy in my life. How does he know me? He said, "Hey, you changed my life." And I went, "Oh my God, I wonder which way it went." So I said that to him. I go, "Which way did it go?" He said, "Well, you saw me as a patient in the office like so many years ago." And he said, "You told me that if I didn't stop the way that I was living and didn't start getting on a better diet, lose some weight and get in shape, that I wasn't going to see my son graduate from high school." And he said, "You know what? When you told me that, I knew you were right. My health was just headed downhill." And he said, "This is my 15th marathon." And the guy gave me a great big hug, and he ran off down the road. And I have no idea to this day who the hell it was. But, you know, it's just, that's the kind of bond you get out of training and doing endurance athleticism together. You know, thinking about that and thinking of the rise of the connection of the groups. And what happens after our marathon, the following weekend, we have a big breakfast where all the people who ran the race will all come have breakfast together. And we'll pick a person from each one of the PACE groups, and they'll tell their story. It's always an inspirational story of help and connection and emotion and shattering barriers and winning. And, you know, when a person crosses the finish line of a marathon, they shatter some barriers. You know, your body doesn't want to do a marathon, so shattering those barriers is important because it stands as a metaphor for all the barriers you've ever had in your own life. When people cross a finish line, it shatters nearly every loss you've ever had. And it says, you know what? I can achieve whatever the hell I say. All I have to do is persevere just a little bit. People have that experience. It bubbles in their unconscious. And what they start saying to themselves is, you know, where else did I fail before and thought that I couldn't achieve? What you'll find when you talk to people who have completed their first marathon or maybe even a half marathon, you ask them, you know, since you finished that race, what has changed for you in your life? And if you get them to reflect a little bit and think about it, they'll tell you they've had a big breakthrough.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. And if anybody has any questions for Dr. Smith, please reach out to him through his Facebook page or his Instagram. We'll see you on the next one.